Well, you see, this is the problem with terrorists. They're really inconsiderate when it comes to people's schedules.
On September 15th, 2001, I was not there. I had the Giants games I wanted to attend in the 2001 season all planned out. I bought tickets to 2 games as early as spring training. One thing I did not want to do on my birthday was go to work. I did that in 2000, and it was a miserable night. I was away from my new girlfriend after she gave me a dozen roses, and I had to work on a Friday. A Friday at the restaurant I worked at was usually a madhouse. It was such a madhouse that night, I did an hour of overtime. It was a lonely night of birthday cake and a Giants game that I barely looked at. Also, I completely forgot about the opening ceremonies of the 2000 Summer Olympics in Sydney. With all of this excitement of a pennant race for the Giants, and the new batch of dopamine and endorphins of a new romance, I hardly looked at the Olympics, which was rare for me. The first game I went to in 2001 was on July 31st against the lowly Pittsburgh Pirates. It was awkward from the beginning. The day before the game, the Giants traded Armando Rios to the Pirates to get Jason Schmidt. I was hoping for a slaughter, but I got more than what I bargained for. I had to sit next to a cute Yinzer and hear her root for the visitors. Also, we were treated to a pretty good game. After giving up a 4 spot to the Bucks in the first inning, the Giants eventually chipped away at the lead and would take the lead in the bottom of the 6th.
Done properly, he just beat it. To left! He hit it well! Way back! Out of here! Bonds.
Even though the Pirates tied the game in the 7th after a Rios sacrifice fly,
So Rios gets the sacrifice fly. It's a good hit, like it's 114. To right!
the Giants would reclaim the lead in the 8th after a 2-run triple by another recent acquisition, Andres Galarraga.
2 runs are going to score. The big cat has come through.
To the top of the 9th, 2 outs, Giles on second, and Rob Nen just had to take care of Aramis Ramirez.
To left. Bonds. Back. Gone. How about that? This game is tied.
Fast forward to the bottom of the 11th. 2 outs, Sean Dunston on second. Pedro Feliz hits a single to right, and whoops! Rios must have forgotten who he was playing for. That fumble would cost the Pirates, and the Giants eventually won a game they were supposed to win. After their 6-game homestand against the 2 Pennsylvania teams, the Giants went on the road a game out of first place in a 3-horse race with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks for the NL West lead. One thing that was going to be an issue for the rest of the season was the Giants' lack of winning streaks. 3 was the magic number. They had winning streaks or losing streaks that didn't go longer than 3 games. While the Giants had a 5-game winning streak in the middle of August, that would be the longest streak of any kind for the rest of the season. While the short losing streaks didn't harm them, the short winning streaks didn't help them either. They would be in a boat race for the rest of the season. Near the end of August, they lost 2 out of 3 in a series against the team they were chasing, the Diamondbacks. They were falling behind at 3.5 games back. In the next 10 games against either Arizona or Colorado, they would make up some ground. The Giants were now a game and a half back of the D-backs. As of September 10th, they would still continue to be close. Then, for a week, it wouldn't matter. I woke up on the morning of September 11th looking forward to another ordinary Tuesday with my usual Tuesday night off work. I did what I usually did on any morning before I went to school. I had breakfast, probably watched a videotape with some kind of old sports game or Simpsons reruns on it. Or maybe I was grinding more on Final Fantasy VI and preparing my characters for the final part of the game. I got in my car and headed to school. I either had music on or was listening to a cassette of old Jim Rome segments. Either way, I did not listen to any live radio that morning. My first class wasn't until 8 a.m., so I went to the student hall to talk with whoever showed up before class. There was a TV on in the corner and I saw nothing but a smoky haze on the screen. Something horrible happened. I asked the nearest stranger, "What happened? Did a bomb go off?" She told me that 2 airplanes were flown into the World Trade Center. I couldn't believe my ears. By the time I saw this scene for the first time on television, the worst had already happened. It was around 7:45 in the morning California time when I asked the million-dollar question. 4 airplanes on that day were hijacked and used as jet-fueled bombs. American Airlines Flight 11 and United Airlines Flight 175, both out of Boston, both destined for Los Angeles, didn't get very far. Those were the 2 that hit the Twin Towers in Manhattan. When I saw the planes hit those tall 110-story buildings for the first time on any kind of visual media, I couldn't help thinking that this horrifying moment was straight out of a Tom Clancy novel. American Airlines Flight 77, leaving Washington, D.C., bound for Los Angeles, crashed into one side of the Pentagon. United Airlines Flight 93 out of Newark, New Jersey was headed for San Francisco. Thanks to some heroic efforts by many of the passengers on the plane, the aircraft ended up crashing near an old coal mine in Pennsylvania. Many reports remarked that the possible target was the U.S. Capitol. We almost had a Tom Clancy moment happening in real life. A wave of darkness hung over me. I didn't go to my math class and waited until the bank opened so I could get my check from work and make the deposit. After that, I would be with my friends for most of the day trying to make sense of what happened that morning. Later on that night, I would go to the park with a few of my friends to shoot the breeze. Because of what happened that morning, all flights would be grounded until further notice. The sky would be an infinite yawning black void. The only lights in the sky would be the stars, if I saw any that night. As the night wound down, I had to give someone a ride home, but she never left. As if this day couldn't get more surreal. We sat huddled together in my Oldsmobile, trying to put a finger on what had happened and what was happening to us. I didn't know what was going on in her thoughts, but I felt something was blooming between us. Back to the sports ball part of the 9/11 aftermath. Commissioner Bud Selig announced on September 11th that all games would be postponed until further notice. No worries. Maybe they'll resume the season on September 14th when the Giants begin a 3-game series with the Dodgers, and my ticket will still be good. The next day, minor league baseball canceled the rest of their seasons and declared any division leaders champions or co-champions. In the California League of Single A ball, the San Jose Giants would be declared champions along with the Lake Elsinore Storm because each team won each half of the season. 2 days later, Selig declared that all games on that week would be postponed and the season would resume on September 17th, which meant the game I had tickets to since spring training for September 15th would be made up on October 6th. With Major League Baseball postponing their season for a week, it caused a chain reaction for the rest of the sports schedule in the United States. In Major League Soccer, the remainder of the regular season was canceled. The NFL would postpone the entire Week 2 schedule and have the games played on Week 17. This would begin the annual tradition of the Super Bowl being played in February. The Ryder Cup, scheduled to be played at the end of September in England, postponed until 2002. The 2001 college football season on that weekend had games either postponed or outright canceled. There was one thing in the US that kept going after everything that had happened. Instead of broadcasting a previously recorded Tuesday night show, World Wrestling Entertainment would have a live televised SmackDown event in Houston on its usual Thursday night. It was a moment that had everyone united. A moment where people stood together and said, "We're not living in fear. We're still here." An amazing scene in a packed house at Ye Olde Compaq Center. September 15th. The day started off with a victory in the middle of the night. I would finish the final chapter of Final Fantasy VI and face off against the final boss, Kefka. Adrenaline flowing through my being as I hoped to finish another Final Fantasy game from start to finish. I followed whatever strategies I read and emerged victorious. Even if I did go to the Giants game that day, I would still have some festivities post-game. A birthday dinner with my friends at an Italian place near my house, then a gathering at my house later on. I opened gifts, we had cake, and as I blew out 24 candles, someone was standing across from me and she got smoke in her face. As the night wound down, I would have a cherished memory with the new sweetheart in my life. A memory I still hold dear to this day. For not being able to go to a ball game due to events out of my control, it was still one of the most memorable birthdays of my life. After a dead sports weekend in America, the baseball season would resume on the 17th. the Giants had an off day and resumed their season at home a day later against the Astros. While the Giants were chasing the D-backs, there was another chase happening, the single-season home run record. On September 6th versus Arizona, Barry Bonds hit his 60th home run of the season. With 21 games left, there was a possibility that Bonds could surpass Mark McGwire's 70 home runs set in 1998. Believe me, for the rest of the year, the pitchers weren't going to make it easy for Bonds to pass that mark. He led the league in walks that year with 177, and 35 of those walks were intentional. The Giants had to knock off some rust after the week off because they were swept by the Astros, but they didn't lose ground after the Diamondbacks lost 3 straight. They were still 2 games back of the lead. The rest of the season was a huge tease for the Giants. They did very well going into the final weekend, winning 9 of the next 12 games, including a sweep in Houston on the makeup portion of the season.
And home runs for Barry Bonds. The 1-1. There it goes! There it goes! Mark McGwire as a co-owner of the home run throne.
While they were sweeping the Astros, Bonds had done it. He caught McGwire and hit home run number 70 in the 9th inning to finish a blowout of the Stros. The Giants hardly made a dent in the standings during this stretch. They were still 2 back of Arizona going into the final series of the season. The Giants faced the Dodgers with the media circus gathered around Pacific Bell Park. The Diamondbacks were in Milwaukee with the possibility to clinch the division with a win and a Giants loss. Giants starting pitcher Sean Estes picked the worst time to have an off night. He lasted only 2/3 of an inning and would be charged for the 5 runs the Dodgers put up in the first. With 2 outs in the bottom of the first, Barry Bonds would put the Giants on the board and it would send the baseball world into a frenzy.
The 1-0 pitch on the way. The fastball hit into deep right center field. It is away out and gone. There it is, number 71.
Bonds would electrify the crowd again in the 3rd inning.
The Bond, a towering fly ball to center. Back goes Grissom to the wall. Gone. Number 72. It's like batting practice for Bonds against Jan-Ho Park.
By then, the Dodgers were far ahead, but the Giants were not going to quit. I think they found out the Diamondbacks won in Milwaukee that night. They had to win. In the bottom of the 6th, the Giants tied up this softball game at 10 after Aurelia hit a 2-run home run.
And a drive to left field and deep. They think it's going to go right down the line and gone. Home run to tie it up, 10-10.
The Dodgers responded in the 7th with Marquise Grissom hitting into a fielder's choice and Jeff Reboulet crossing the plate to put the Dodgers ahead.
Santiago away from the plate.
After that, the Giants ran out of answers to the Dodgers pitching and just couldn't get that tying run. The Giants lost to the Dodgers 11-10, and with that loss, the Diamondbacks would reclaim the NL Western Division from the Giants. Driving home that night from my girlfriend's house, I heard on the radio Bonds addressing the crowd. He expressed he was happy to break the record, but dissatisfied that the Giants didn't achieve the ultimate prize, an opportunity to play in the postseason. As for me, my ticket was still good for the game on October 6th, but I didn't go. I never got the time off work to go. Also, my priorities had changed. Spending time with my girlfriend at her friend's birthday party was a little more important than attending a makeup game that wasn't going to amount to a hill of beans. It was a good thing I didn't go. The Giants ended up losing that game as well. Looking back on it, the series at home against Houston was the Giants' golden opportunity to gain ground. As I said earlier, not stringing long winning streaks after that 5-game winning streak in August was their downfall. Either way, there would be no postseason baseball for the Giants in 2001. The Diamondbacks would go all the way. That's how good they were, no matter what the Giants did in that stretch after September 11th. I would learn that sometimes life doesn't go the way you planned it. When I was not there on September 15th, 2001.